Redditors who went out for cigarettes and never came back. Why did you leave? Where did you go? What is life like for you now? Serious. Sort of. My cousin went for a walk once. He was dating this woman, who just an awful human being. She got pregnant, swore it was his, and once the kid was born the state went after him for child support, as he wasn't on the birth certificate, even though they were living together. Anyways, the paternity test came back showing it wasn't his, and she flipped her lid, just lost it. He asked her to calm down and said he wanted to take a walk to cool off. He left everything he owned, minus the clothes on his back and his wallet, and went for a walk that he never came from. A few years back the kid found him. He was 16 or 17, and went on some giant rant about him being a bum and a punk ass and whatever other nonsense. My cousin told him he wasn't his dad. The paternity test showed that, and he had no idea why she told him he was the father and abandoned them. Kid left a whole hell of a lot more confused than he showed up, I think. Edit calm not qualm. I left my home like this. One night, I just packed the essentials into my backpack, walked to a train station and got on a train to Newport News, VA from Pasco, WA. No one knew I was gone until 3 o'clock the next morning. It was to be with a girl my family was totally, 100% against. That was a year ago. It's all working perfectly. I am happier now than I ever have been before. I don't know if this counts, but when I was about 19 I was in a SY position. All of my friends were doing M regularly. I had put out thousands of dollars to bail friends from jail and to try to help them out. The girl I was dating was lying to everyone she knew about our relationship. My uncle called me in the middle of all this and offered me a job on the other side of the country. I had my car packed and was headed there within 12 hours. I heard from the girl I was dating about 2 weeks later. She called crying telling me she went to my house and I wasn't there and wanted to know where I was. I told her I had moved and she told me it wasn't my choice to make, that I should have consulted her. I never heard from any of the people I had considered friends. I heard some of them went to jail, some had kids, some disappeared. I moved back to the town I left about 5 years later and everything has been relatively okay since then. Sometimes I see people I used to know, and sometimes they recognize me, but mostly I keep to myself and spend time with better people than those I left years ago. Left my family close to 5 years ago to move to California to start a new life. I was 400 pounds, living a lifestyle of prescription D and drinking at 17 with my family. I was good in high school and even went to college early but wasn't able to secure a loan there to continue past the first year. Dropped my life there and came here. It was very rough for a time but I'm a lot better now. I had some help from my adoptive father but paid my way aside from the ticket here. I live on my own now and manage an office selling printer parts and various other money makers online. I started my own business last year and have been paying out of pocket to continue school here because the college I went to back home wouldn't release my transcript. I've lost a great deal of weight and am away from any unhealthy addictions. My family is for the most part very cross with me. My mother died 2 years ago nearly exactly. I had planned to go back for her birthday tomorrow incidentally, in 2013 but she died 2 weeks prior to it. The only regret I have is leaving that door open. I like to think she'd be proud of where I went. Not really the same thing, and there's other drama involved but to keep it short. Went through a bad breakup. To get away from it I went to Sri Lanka in 2004 during Christmas. The tsunami happened. Came back and told my family and about 2 friends I was leaving LA. Boarded a plane a few days later for New York with only 2 bags, no act, no job. Found a job and a flat within the first few weeks. I've been here 10 years now and have no regrets. Edit. She's married now and very happy. Took all of the plans we spoke about and applied them to her. Then, new dude and did them with him. They live in the same area and Ziz. I'm happy for her regardless. She was a great person. We were just young. I'm from New Zealand. Moved to Melbourne, Australia to be with a girl. She ended up being bats crazy. I was basically a prisoner for 2 years. I managed to scrape together enough money for a ticket home. I told her I was just going home for a visit on my mum's birthday. Bought a return flight and left most of my stuff there. If I didn't do the sneaky she would have hidden destroyed my passport, ATM card and like that. It was the best thing I have ever done. Not first-hand experience, but this happened to my mom when she was like 14, 45 years ago. Her uncle went out for a pack of smokes when she was 14 and they never saw him again. It was like an urban legend in our family, until my grandfather, his brother, found him 40 years later. He's now living in the US, we're from Canada, and has had a completely new family. They didn't know about us and we didn't know about them. Refuses to come back to Canada. We don't think he's allowed back, and doesn't want to talk about any of the circumstances on why he left. We're still trying to adjust to it, but it's still really weird. Went for a week's holiday in Ireland. Accidentally left the week before the one I had booked off of work due to a mix-up in my brain. After a few days of drunkenness, I sent this postcard to work saying having a great time, not coming back. That was in 2001. Been back to visit intermittently, and my parents' family were cool with it. Ireland is home now, though I have traveled a bit and lived in a few other countries briefly in the last 6 years. I have never regretted making the move. It was the best thing I ever did. Even back then in the vodka haze, it just felt like the right decision. My dad went to pay the rent when I was 2 years old and mum was 7 months pregnant with my brother. Never heard from him again. Don't know where he went or what he did, but I've since found out he had another daughter that he abandoned before I was born, and a couple more after he left us. It affected mum far more than she has ever let on, but as far as I'm concerned it was his loss, not ours. Well, this isn't me, but a friend of my dad's. Friend or drinking buddy. They are both pretty bad alcoholics. Anyways, we'll call him Derek. Derek and my dad met when I was around 10-12 years old. They became best friends, drinking buds. He would spend every day there. Derek was also Scottish and immigrated sometime around 2003, I think. Derek owned the local corner store, had to declare bankruptcy, moved to the city. Fast forward about 8 years. Derek is unhappy with his life and has gotten in touch with an ex-girlfriend in Scotland. Derek leaves his wife of 25-ish years, son and daughter, 3 grandchildren all behind, but didn't actually leave them formally. No, he went to work and just never came back. Sent an email a week later. I don't like Derek. According to him, he's happier than ever. I kinda did this. Woke up knowing how much of a mistake going to art school in San Francisco was. Called a friend who came to the city later that day and helped me pack my S and left. I moved in with a different friend, got a job the next day, and went from there. I told my roommate when they called a few days later. I was in school housing, so I didn't dick them over, and a friend from work the day I left when she called wanting to get some dinner. Never regretted it, because eventually it led to my spouse and kids. Edit: no, guys, this is not from him. I am realizing I should have sued the S out of the writers for stealing my story, though. I was about a month out of high school. I went to the recruiting office and joined the Navy. I knew I wasn't college material, but still wanted to do something. So I didn't just leave in the night, but gave everyone a month's notice that I'm gonna be gone for the next 6 years. GF broke up with me 3 months into my new career, but I managed to survive. After the first year, my relationship with my parents improved, because I was doing something on my own and they were proud. I recently got out after my 6 years with a whirlwind of mental problems that crept up on me, and they have been there to help me out like no other. It's not quite the same, but I remember the last time I saw my dad. He had always let me down and lied to me, and eventually my mum and stepdad had enough. I stayed around my dad's every other weekend, so I had some stuff there. One day my mum and stepdad went to my dad's and picked up all my stuff. My dad's GF would only let me through due to the aggressive history between my stepdad and my dad. My dad didn't even get out of bed but was wide awake. I went upstairs and went past his bedroom. His door was ajar and he just said, "Hi DJ," my nickname. I grabbed my stuff and went downstairs. He didn't say a word, neither did I. Haven't spoke to him since, and that was 7 years ago. Excuse any errors. It's 4 AM. My is not nearly as sad as some of these, but I think it qualifies. I had a rather miserable time in high school, and while I still love my family and my house, home just didn't feel like home anymore. I tried to fix this by going to college out of state, but as much as I tried to tell myself otherwise, my college experience wasn't much better. A recent visit home confirmed this for me. I was overweight, had few friends, and was generally miserable. Senior year of college. I applied and was accepted into the Disney college program. Program started a week after graduation, so I was home for a few days before I made the drive down here. Working for Disney was great, but just the overall atmosphere of living in Florida, being on my own, and having a job I genuinely loved made me happier than I can remember being. About halfway through my program, this past January, I told my parents I was planning on transferring into a full job with Disney and that I had no intentions of going back home. My mother, knowing how miserable I had been, despite my efforts to hide it, was 100% supportive. I've since gotten the job, moved into a new apartment, and settled into my new life. I've even started losing weight. So my story is a slight spin on the left and never came back angle, but I found a life that made me happy and I stuck with it. I had dropped out of college after the first semester once I realized it wasn't for me. My dad just got a new job in Tennessee and was going to move there first to do some house hunting and get his job squared away, so I went with him, hoping to start over in a different part of the country. It didn't take more than a month for me to realize that I hated it there and wanted to go back to Pennsylvania, but my mother was hugely against me living on my own, mainly because my only option was to move in with the girl I was dating at the time. My dad could tell, however, how miserable I was, so one day after he got home from work he handed me a credit card in my name, asked me if my car was running well and then told me to mail the card back to him when I had made it back to Pennsylvania. The next morning I said goodbye when he left for work, packed up everything I owned and made the 800-mile drive back to PA. He told my mom that I had simply decided to leave one day, and never told her about the money he gave me so she wouldn't try to make me pay it back at some point down the road. I spent about 5 years living on my own, had some of the best, and worst, times of my life and basically became an adult. After a while I finally realized that my life had stagnated, so I joined the Air Force and haven't regretted it since. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like and subscribe. Please check out more of our videos or our playlist. It is perfect for when you want background noise or to put on when you are falling asleep. Once again, thank you and have a great day.